and welcome to DMMR. We are back for another exciting week. This is Mike, aka Mr. Podcasty McNasty with an IE, and we are here to talk all kinds of technology and art and, a few other things. A little bit off topic, but you know how we do in the zone, in the podcast. What's that? For those of you who are listening to the audio, he has some kind of handheld portable gaming device in his hand. He being Dijon, who is also on this podcast. In fact, you could say he's the DM to the MR. And speaking of that, Dijon, what have you been up to since it's been a whole month since the last episode? What have you been up to since then?
Oh, you were talking?
Uh,
Oh,
I
sorry.
can't deal with. We just had this discussion before the podcast. We said this was going to be classy. We said it was going to be very highbrow. We said no lowbrow comedy. We literally signed an agreement. So I apologize to the listeners who have to go through this. This will not happen again. From now on, this will be the most professional shit that we can possibly produce, and I sincerely apologize.
One, you just said shit, destroying the professionalism, thereby destroying the professionalism. Two, since you asked what I have been up to, have been playing on my Nintendo Switch Lite, having fun playing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Oh my gosh, these characters are so loud. Anyway, I'm just gonna put that on pause real quick.
Oh,
Jesus.
hold on. I got a Switch Lite too. Now we Switch Lite twins.
Oh, we switched like twins, except mine is slightly better because I have the limited edition, but humble brag.
Oh, you have the Mike Text It Out color one?
No. This one is all about Dijon, but give yourself a little shout out earlier in the show. That's fine. Yeah, so Switch Lite, yes, that's part of what I've been up to, and I also have been, what have I been doing? Let's see, I've been doing some writing, getting a lot more into like politics, which like I've always been into it, but not gonna lie, past few years left me kind of wanting to get away from it. But then lately I've been getting back into it, and I've been hanging out with a really, really great friend of mine. And I have a new release that has happened soon. See that? Like the little Mike texted out finger. See? Look at that. I gave you a shout out. I have a new release, and it is this beauty known as the Queen of America. Yes. Stare at her. Love her.
But how can I
Please.
become Queen of America?
Well. You already got the queen part down packed, right? Let's see. I don't want to spoil anything in the book. However, she becomes Queen of America through a bit of a scandal. Yeah? And no, not a sexual scandal. Nasty little mind you. Actually, the president advisors get rid of him. Yeah. And she becomes the queen. So that's a little prelude on what that book is about. It's actually my first novella. When I first wrote it, I was calling it a short story. And then whenever I was looking up like the actual definitions of what a short story was, I was like, ooh, false advertisement. Fake news. Yeah, it's definitely not a short story. It's a novella. It's only like 100 pages, I think. Hold on, let me check. It's only like what? 44, 88, 92, 110, oh, Jesus. 140. Okay. It's a couple more pages than I thought it was. 160. Oh, Jesus, it just keeps going. So it's like roughly 185 pages. But that's short. Like, and especially for those of you who have actually read my stories, you know that I do my things in a combination of a book screenplay format because I'm not just an author, I'm also a screenwriter. And bringing those two methods together helps me to honestly understand the craft a little bit more. Shout out to all the people who are like real authors, who can say stuff like, the yellow brick road twinged with the sorrowful sun. You guys are so talented. I try to do it and then I just fall asleep on my own details. I'm a little more straightforward, more like a screenplay would be. But then I also have some details in there, so it's not like completely screenplay. Because on the screenplay, you kind of have to be very direct, get the point across, right? And I'm a little mixture of both. Why can't you be both? Although, anyway, so that's mainly what I have been up to. It's just the new release and searching for a lot of jobs on Upwork, actually, which is a great website for freelancers. I've been looking to ghostwrite some books, kind of be behind the scenes. Don't even want my name on it, just want to get paid because Corona is real and Lordy. But yeah, what have you been up to, Mr. Michael?
All right, so there was like a 3-week period where I helped this person find a Nintendo Switch in this current pandemic, which was almost impossible. And, I was like, but at least they didn't do anything ghetto, like buy one from the UK and then have it imported because it was actually way cheaper. Anyway, there was that. It's been so long since it hasn't been that long, but it's like so much has changed. So I got my 10-bit recorder finally, my Ninja. My Ninja. I almost forgot the name. The Atmos Ninja 2. Look, y'all, it's old, so it's not gonna be like the latest and greatest. It's
So
like
much for not being ghetto on here. We are loaded with mistakes today.
With my Abraham Lincoln too. It's a 10-bit recorder, so it records 10-bit and 1080p. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's basically 10-bit color is 1.07 billion colors. 8-bit is 16.7 million. It's close to that. I think it's 16.7 million. You could tell that I've been looking at this. Did a lot of research on this to remember how many colors it is. But
dumb that down for them a little bit.
So basically, with this recorder connected to my monitor, instead of recording 16 million colors, I can record over 1 billion colors, and that just basically gives me more space to work in. When I'm doing color correction and things like that, and also the video's a little bit sharper. So I was super excited to get one, and they're super expensive, like a new one. The cheapest one I could find was about $500. Granted, it does do 4K. I got this one for $200 because it was used and it's pretty old, but I feel like I'm already starting to get a return in that investment. And speaking of that, I also was like, I got the whole thing and I was like excited, and then I realized that none of the monitors, literally no monitor I have in the house, and we have 2 computers. Well, okay, realistically, I have 2 computers. My husband Jeff has a computer. Like, I have the MacBook Air and I have my desktop. My desktop has 2 monitors already. So that's already 3 monitors myself. And then Jeff has this ultra-wide monitor that really I bought for myself a few years ago. But then, some ghetto exchanges happened and he ended up with the better computer. So he got the super expensive monitor. None of the monitors could do 10-bit color. So it was like I was recording this super nice detail, like, super vibrant imagery, and I couldn't see it. So then I went in this conquest to find this monitor, which that video just dropped on Tuesday on my channel. I got the BenQ EW3280U. I don't know how I remember these model numbers like that. I literally don't know. But I was supposed to get the BenQ PD3200, but it was like a whole thing. Like, I bought it used for $200, which is like a super good deal because it's a $700 monitor. And then it seemed kind of iffy because it said it had a broken USB-C port on it. And those of you, if you're not familiar with USB-C, it's like if you have a newer MacBook or a newer Android phone or the iPad Pro, or even the iPhone. The other end of it that plugs into the wall is USB-C. If you have an iPhone Pro, so it's like the circular connection. So it was like, okay, it has a broken USB-C port, and I looked at the monitor and I was like, I don't see a USB-C port on this monitor, so I don't know which. I was like, but it's $200 and it's supposed to be $700, so I'm gonna just buy it anyway. And then I got it, and it was a completely different monitor. Granted, it's a monitor that's almost as good and it's actually more expensive. It's actually $800, and nothing was broken on it. So I'm still super lucky to get it, and it does do 10-bit color. That's the whole story. I'm sorry it got real nerdy for a second, but that's literally like the. It was just. It literally went from me looking for a cheap recorder then to looking for a cheap monitor, and I feel like I got a really good deal on both, honestly.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that whole thing happening, and despite the fact that some people try to bring negative energy, and they're like, "Oh, that stuff only doesn't happen for anybody. If I tried to do that, it would never happen for me." You know, um, those kind of things happen sometimes. Sometimes you ask for one thing and you get even better than what you asked for, which I think is totally awesome. You showed me the monitor, and I thought it was really great. With the exception of Facebook on Safari, it didn't look the best.
It didn't have the strongest showing on the monitor. It definitely didn't utilize the space correctly. I forgot to mention, it's also a 32-inch monitor and it's 4K, which if you think about how, like, I didn't realize how big a 32-inch monitor was until I got it. But it's literally like, okay, think about a 32-inch TV. A 32-inch TV is not that big, right? But think about how close we actually sit to monitors. And like most laptops are 13 to 15 inches. Like I think your laptop is the 15-inch one.
Yeah, it is.
So this would be like vertically more than double the size of that monitor. Like that's why when I did the video, like the monitor I have beside it in the video that seems small is actually a 27-inch monitor. So yeah, it's cool, but it's really cool though. Like and the other advantage of it is, like, I didn't think about it, was like, since everything renders so much smaller on the screen, I have a lot more space in like the video editing program. Like, I don't have to flip between screens. I have everything like on one screen now. Like not really flip between screens, but I had to just scroll a lot to get the stuff. Like I'd be working on one track and I'm like, okay, let me scroll all the way down to get to this other one. Now it's just like all there because I have so much vertical space. It's crazy. It's changed my whole life. $400 $400 in the last month, and it's really changed the way that I work already. And also I had another update today. I got Premiere Pro, which I literally don't know how to use. That's right, I'm moving away from DaVinci Resolve, which is still great, but I want to start learning Premiere because I think in the meantime, until I can make it on YouTube, I really want to get into video editing professionally. So, and to do that, you either have to know Final Cut or you have to know Premiere. And I'm not buying Final Cut because I have a MacBook Air and I value the MacBook Air and I don't want flames to shoot out of it. Flames shooting out of the computer is bad. I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not. So I just don't want that to happen. So I'm just not going to do Final Cut.
Basically what he's saying is that my master plan of like trying to manipulate him into being a film editor is coming true, which makes me happy.
What's funny is somebody else that mentioned it to me over the weekend. Another friend of mine brought it up when I was talking about possibly leaving my job, and he was like, why don't you try to get a film editing job? He was like, you can literally use your YouTube channel as like your portfolio.
It's a sign. I'm going to bring everybody to film. And then I'm going to just like disappear and be like, hey, you guys know how like I brought you all to film and then I made like 2 films and then disappeared? Yep, that's exactly what I did. Got rich, disappeared. Nah, just kidding. That's not going to happen. Probably will happen. But anyway, yeah. So update, since we are talking about all this cool, nerdy, fun technology stuff. It has now been 3 months, I think. Wow, wait a minute. What month is it? It's August? Yeah, wow. Yeah, I am 3 months now into having my MacBook Air Pro. Jesus, I don't have an Air. You think I am a heathen? Um,
Oh, so you don't
no
enjoy fire?
offense.
I'm
No.
okay. I mean, it's your choice, but that's fine. Don't shame
Mm-mm.
other people for enjoying fire.
Well, you know. Yeah, I enjoy my pro, and you know what's funny? I had a lot of complaints when I first got it about it, like heating up a lot. Speaking of fire, but now that I've gotten used to it, I just learned the reason why it was heating up so badly was because I was keeping GarageBand open, and once I started like closing GarageBand, like making a conscious effort to keep it closed, um, the heating is not nearly as bad. I mean, it's still a Mac, so it gets a little bit warm, but
Yeah, they're not
it's
known for
definitely
their
not.
strongest thermals.
Yeah, they're not. Definitely not. Months in, wow, this thing is working. Dare I say, better than what it was working when I first got it. Maybe it's just that I know how to use it better, but I do have to sometimes give myself mental notes to remind myself to shut it down. But if I don't shut this computer down at least once a week, it'll shut itself down.
Even
Which
my computer, even my MacBook Air does that. Like I'll just randomly, I'll like open it up and it's like your Mac was restarted. I'm like, I didn't even choose to do that though. It's like, no, we did it for you. You're welcome.
that's exactly how it is. Like this, if I don't shut this thing down, it will literally just be like, no, I'm shutting down. Sorry, fuck your feelings. Oops, sorry for the language, but yeah. Um, but it's been really cool. I'm pretty like comfortable now on what to use. Browser wise, I do normally stay in Safari. There's still certain things that I don't really like to use in Safari. I've figured out that Facebook doesn't. It works. It works well in Safari, but I think it works a lot better in Chrome, from my experience anyway. Like whenever I try to use like GIFs or whatever, I always run into a problem trying to use in Safari. I'm not sure why, but then on Chrome it just pops right up where I could just search, bloop, 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 and so yeah, it travels with me. Which when I first got it, I was kind of afraid to take it anywhere because of the heating problem. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to get it. Then it just like blows up. But it goes with me wherever I go. It goes, and it's been on a train with me. It's been to a limited number of people's houses. It's been all the way to Philadelphia with me. I had so much fun in Philadelphia. By the way, that was another thing I've been up to. Is I went up to Philadelphia like probably like I actually it was like the day that we recorded the last one. I think it was like the day after that. I went to Philly to see my
That's
sister, and that
right. I
was
forgot. It seemed like such a long time ago, but yeah, that was the reason because we recorded it earlier than normal because you're leaving.
yeah. And going to Philly was just wow. It was incredible. You know, I'm a person that when it comes to family, I have a lot of mixed feelings, but I'm glad that I have at least one family member, and I have more than one. I have two or three, but people that I'm like close with in my family. So it's nice. It was really nice to be able to go see my sister and spend some, excuse me, great time with her in Philly. Philly is wonderful. It did kind of feel like a slightly. I'm not gonna go too far. A slightly less dangerous version of Baltimore, because Baltimore is yeah. So Philly was great. Enjoyed that. Enjoy Mr. Mac Attack here. Goes with me everywhere I go. This is my baby. And when I say that to people, sometimes they look at me funny, like, "Why are you calling this your child?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. I have wanted one of these my whole life, sort of, and I finally got one. I still remember having to use like the crappy, um, what are the desktop Macs called in school? iMacs,
Yeah,
whatever they're. I remember having to use those in one of the schools I went to, and they were just insufficient. Um, but yeah, so it's nice to be able to use a MacBook that works well. Probably shouldn't talk too much shit about iMacs, or this guy here might report all my stuff back to Apple and be like, next thing I know, I wake up and my arm is behind my head or something. But yeah, The next story goes to you, my friend.
All right, the next story, because I definitely have this doc open.
It's equipment.
Equipment you can grow with. That was the title of the story. So the reason I bring this up is because I think I was talking to you about this a few, gosh, it was probably like 2 weeks ago. I know it was around the time I got the Atmos Ninja, but I was talking about why I decided to get the camera that I got, which was the GH4, over something like the Panasonic G7 at the time. Mm-hmm. Even though this camera is $300 more, and they're honestly very close in video quality, but it was because it has the extra capabilities to record 10-bit externally. And even though like I'm just now starting to use that 2 years later, it's like there was so much more I could get out of this camera just because I spent a little bit extra money. And then also it can record in Vlog or in Log, which is like a super flat color profile, which honestly makes color correction a lot easier because they have pre-configured settings you can slap up there. It's called a LUT, like an LUT. So like if you record in Log, there's pre-configured LUTs you can get, and you just throw it out in the video, and it like sets the color to whatever that LUT has set to it. So it just makes it super easy. Like you find a LUT you like, you record it in Log, and then you just throw it up there, and you're pretty much done as far as color. So that's something I'm probably going to do next. But that's what I was saying. It's kind of important to invest, like if you, especially if you're doing like anything art related where you're going to grow. Like this monitor, I didn't want to settle on a monitor that was just barely good enough, but I also didn't want to break the bank. So that's why I was really looking for something that was used, and I just happened to find a good deal. But yeah, it like you said earlier, it wasn't anything luck wise. I just really take a long time, and I look at like everything for weeks. I would say days, but literally weeks. I've been looking at monitors for months. I've been looking for recorders for months. And when I finally find something I know that's a good deal, then I just hop on it immediately. That's how I find these deals all the time. That's really the truth about it. Like if I see something, like I'm going to go ahead and buy it immediately. But definitely, you get your value if you want something that you can grow with, and you have a budget. I would definitely say look at older used stuff, because there's so much you can get out of older cameras, especially. Like I bought that GH2 for $80, and I've gotten so much value out of it. The video from it looks so good. I use it in like every video that I do, like an unboxing or I need a second camera angle. Now I use the GH2 for the second angle, and like honestly, in a lot of cases, I like it, the way it looks better than the GH4. But yeah, $80 just because it has a broken shutter dial, which doesn't matter for video, because for video most cameras use a digital shutter anyway, so the physical shutter doesn't matter. It only matters if you're taking photos. So I was like, it's not going to matter for the purpose I'm using it for. Is $80. So definitely buy equipment. Like if you're looking at something like, let's say if you want the Blackmagic cinema camera but you got $500, I wouldn't buy like a $500 new camera. I would buy like a used GH4, because I've seen them for like under $500 now when they pop up on the used sites, like on B&H Photo and on Adorama. Buy a camera that you can grow with, versus buying like a $500 camera that's designed to be a cheap camera, versus a camera that 3 years ago was $2,000, but now it's discontinued. It's $400. There's still a lot of value left in that camera, and it's probably going to give you better performance, and definitely a lot more features, that you can use as you grow as a professional. So that's just what I'll say in general. It's like if you're on a budget, definitely look at used. Look at open box stuff too. Open box is pretty much new, and a lot of times they'll do discounts, like steep discounts on it, because what open box is basically someone opened the box, and then they just returned it, so it's not considered to use. And depending on the manufacturer, like for instance, Panasonic, I know because I used to work there, they recognize an open box item as being new. So you still have the same warranty that you'd have buying a new product. And sometimes I'll get open box stuff for like $100 off, and it's pretty much brand new. So,
wow.
Yeah, like people don't even like Best Buy, especially. They have a whole section. They'll have the price up there, and they'll have a little price, and they'll be like open box for this much, and I'll go ahead and click on that. And if it's like a good disc, like if it's like $5,200 off, just because they opened it and returned it, I don't really care. Like I'm gonna save the money because it's pretty much like I've never gotten anything open box where it's been like, oh, this is messed up. Well, okay, it happened one time. It was this really weird thing, but the funny thing was I actually bought that in the store. It was a receiver, and I got it home, and then like I opened the box, and then like the receiver was completely crushed on one side, and I was like, how did they not? I was like, how did they try to resell this? But that's another good thing is like if you're buying from these sites like Best Buy, like I just literally took it back to the store and returned it. Like you're buying from, I mainly only buy from like retail sites anyway. I just go to their used or open box sections and buy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, you either have like a warranty or you can just return it if you get something that's messed up. So it's really not that big of a risk either. So definitely do your research for whatever it is that you're looking for. Just like when I recommended the Mac to you, because I was like, there's not, if you're spending less than $1,000 and you wanted a MacBook, it would be the MacBook Air, and not even the model that I have. It'd be the base model, which is like a dual core processor. I think it has like, I can't remember if it's 256 gigs of storage or 128 gigabytes of storage, and then 8 gigs of RAM. It's just not. It's not a. It's not a good. It's a good value for a student that just needs to do like basic, word processing, and that's it. But
Yeah.
I was like, considering that you'd probably be doing a little bit more, like some light video editing and stuff. I was like, buy this used MacBook Pro instead, because even though it's older, you're gonna get a lot more value out of it than buying the new computer. So that was kind of what I meant with technology that you can grow with. It's like if you can't afford it
Mm-hmm.
right now, get the thing that's gonna make more sense versus buying. Like sometimes a new thing makes more sense, but in a lot of cases you can get more value out of buying something that's used or older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, as you were talking about it, the first thing that came to my mind was the Mac, because it's so funny. I sometimes forget that this thing is refurbished. I'm glad that I grew up with a brother who has like great knowledge when it comes to technology. He was building computers and everything at like 13, 12, I don't know, something like that. And he taught me about refurbished items when I was young, and I would see him just basically get these like old computers, and if anything needed to be fixed in them, like if they were refurbished, he would fix it himself, or sometimes he would just willingly upgrade them. It was just the weirdest thing in the world. But so that's why when you mentioned something that was refurbished, I was like, oh, okay, I have experience with this. And even though I was initially hesitant, because I was like, I don't know, a Mac refurbished, I don't want to fuck myself over. But then I was like, well, if Mike is recommending it, I trust his opinion. You're just a person that when it comes to technology, I generally trust what you say, even though I question everything. I'm also like, you know what, I'll take a leap. It was a good Mac. It was definitely a deal because it was only $950, I think. And I was like, yeah, well, this is a good deal. I'm just definitely gonna cop this. And I'm so glad I listened to you, because almost half a year later, it is working so well. And I've had really no issues, at least no issues that someone who hasn't bought a brand new Mac wouldn't have, like the randomly turning off, or the slight heat stuff. Like I think the only issue, which considering the webcam that naturally comes with this isn't that much of an issue for me, is the fact that I can't use FaceTime on here, or iMessage. I don't know. iMessage works weird. It like kind of works, but it kind of doesn't work. Like I can check messages, but I can't send them, which is the weirdest thing in the world. But I don't really care about that because I always have my phone on me anyway.
It sounds like it's working correctly. They're actually working on iMessage is bad on Mac. They're actually working on fixing that with the next update, or making it, improving it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, did you know that Catalina actually just had a, which is not a woman who will stab you, even though it sounds like it. Just had an update, I think last night. At least for mine, it had an update last night, and I think the updates generally go out around the same time, right? Like, did you get an update?
I don't even know because I'm gonna be honest. I haven't used my Mac in like a week or so. It's sad.
Oh, okay. Well, next time you turn it on, you'll definitely have an update to do. So, yeah, there's an update, and I don't know. I guess I noticed the difference. I haven't even tried to open iMessage or FaceTime is what the point that I was getting to, is that I can't use FaceTime. It literally won't work. You keep saying like, oh, connect your account, but I'm like, literally my account is connected. So why are you saying to connect my account? I don't know. But again, that's not something that bothers me because I have my iPhone 11 Pro, and I much rather FaceTime on there anyway. The camera on there is so good that anything camera wise, I always prefer to use my iPhone anyway, just because it just looks so much better, And maybe eventually, Apple will get their webcams up to par, but. I mean, they got to have a downfall somewhere, right? Every other part of the Mac is great, so
Interestingly
it's
enough,
not a big deal to me.
I forgot. That's probably a few weeks ago now, but I did a video about the rumor that they might be bringing the Face ID camera to the MacBook, because they're transitioning to their own chips for the MacBook, which made sense because I never thought about it before. But a lot of the things that makes the FaceTime camera work is built into Apple's processor, so it makes sense why they haven't had it on the Mac before, because they've been using Intel processors. But now the Macs are going over to their own chips. They're finally gonna. There wouldn't be like a good reason why they couldn't do it, so I think that they probably will, and that would probably explain why they haven't spent any time upgrading the webcams on the MacBook at all. They're probably just gonna wait to put the Face ID module, which even the front-facing cam on the iPhone is really good. Like, I mean, personally, I love Face ID. A lot of people, it's like one of those things people always complain about it, like, oh, well, everybody else is doing the under-the-screen fingerprint reader. I'm like, but Face ID is so fast. Like, I literally, like, don't even think about stuff, and I'm just like, oh, it's already done. Like, I'll go to open my bank app, like, oh, I'm already signed in. Like, it works so well.
Oh, my God, yes. Let me tell you something. The bank app, I love that more than anything. Like, being able to get on a bank app and just, I was like, okay, Face ID, I can really get with it now. Like, I really, really love it.
It's really
convenient.
I mean, there's a few things that are inconvenient. Like, yes, if your phone's laying down, then, yeah, you can't unlock it without picking it up or putting in the passcode. That sucks. Yeah, that's a trade-off or whatever.
And if you have on a mask, of course.
Yeah, you got to put in the code. But outside of that, like, for everything else, like, it literally... And I remember because I came from the iPhone 7 that had the fingerprint reader to the 10S was the first one I had that had the newer design with the Face ID. And then I just remember, like, using it, and I was like, oh, let me sign in. And then without thinking about it, it was like, boop. And I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's right. I'm looking at my phone, so of course, it just automatically does it. It's so cool. It's, I don't know. To me, and plus, I'm going to be honest, I've always had really oily hands. So Touch ID just never worked well for me. Like, I would literally, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I would have to press it like 600 times. And then at a certain point, they'd be like, nope, enter in your passcode. I'm like, I literally hate Touch ID. I hated Touch ID for years. So when I finally got Face ID, I was like, thank you. Finally something I can use that actually works more reliable for me.
Yeah. I'm definitely a very, very big fan of it, honestly. I love it. And I'm not the person who just stands behind Apple for everything. I was talking to my brother like a week or so ago, and maybe it was about 2 weeks ago, but he called me an Apple fanboy, and I was like, definitely not. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not a fanboy of anybody except arguably Nintendo. But even then, it's not like I stand behind every decision that they make. Like, I call them out on their bull, like, which I'm about to do in a minute. Anyway. But, I just enjoy the quality of Apple's products. I definitely do notice the difference, and that's not to put anybody down that has an Android. If you have an Android, by all means, live in your hell. Enjoy it. You deserve that. But I'm just saying that, as for me in my house, we use Apple over here, okay? But, anyways, Apple's not perfect either. They have their issues. It's technology. It's never going to be perfect. And, I don't know, that's just kind of like my final thoughts on that. But, as I said, I was getting ready to rear into Nintendo. But before I rear into them, first, let me talk about some exciting rumors that have been going around. Although, after I talk about it might not be so exciting. But the Switch 2 has been, like, getting rumored around on the internet. And, like, anything else with the internet, it starts on social media. From, like, some little off-brand account, or people see something in Thailand or something for pre-order, like that's been going on with Metroid Prime Metroid Prime 4. I'm sorry, it's so hard not to laugh. I think in Brazil or Colombia.
Is that a game that's supposed to come out or something?
Oh yeah. It's supposed to come out. It's actually been worked on the past 13 years. So it's just been in development for a while. But yeah, with Metroid Prime 4, there was like some posting on some Brazilian gaming website that was like Metroid Prime 4 for pre-order, and then it had it for the Metroid Prime 4 one. I think the date that they had for it was like October 2020, which we know damn sure ain't happening. Maybe October 2021, and they just forgot how to count. But and then it had Breath of the Wild 2 for pre-order, and it has the date as December 31st, 2020, which anyone in the gaming industry, and this has been even back, I could trace this back when I was a kid, when I first put in when I reserved Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, they had like the December 31st date, which basically means we don't know when the fuck it's coming out.
Yeah, that's definitely like a big placeholder date.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so, I suspect Breath of the Wild 2 will be out within the next year.
Yeah, I don't think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be that long, because they weren't making a game from scratch. Like, obviously, they're going to probably do new worlds and environments, but they're not, it's not Breath of the Wild where they're making all this, new engine and all this stuff. They're still using the same engine as before.
Well, they even said that they're going to use the same world. I think obviously they're going to add some stuff onto it, but that they're using the same world. So they're just going to build on top of that. So with that being the case, we already know that Breath of the Wild 2 is not going to be like super, groundbreaking the way Breath of the Wild was, which is good. We can't take too many groundbreaking games at once, like, baby steps. But yeah, these Switch 2 rumors have been going around, and just to squash any Nintendo fans' hopes and dreams, I'm so sorry, the Switch 2 is not happening anytime soon. Well, I don't want to say anytime soon, because that sounds kind of rude. I suspect that the successor to the Switch will be out 2022, early 2022, not November 2022. They're not going to wait that long. But it'll be out sometime between like November 2021 and probably like March 2022 is what I'm leaning more towards. And people are also like suspecting that there's going to be like a Switch Pro, and there's been like rumors going around about a Switch Pro and it coming out as early as, what did they say, Q1 2021, which that is a possibility. We'll see. I don't know. Switch Pro has also been a rumor for a long time, so
I don't know. I do see them doing like a higher powered Switch first. Personally, in my opinion, I don't think they're gonna come out with a new Switch anytime soon. Because think about how long the 3DS lasted, and this being that this is their handheld. What was the 3DS, like 8 years or something like that?
Oh Jesus, yeah.
So this being their handheld and their console, and it's doing really well, I don't see them being interested in making another one until the sales start to dip, which is definitely not happening right now and in the foreseeable future, while they still have big games coming out. But I do see them doing a refresh. I can see them doing it was funny while you were talking, I was like, or they did like a Switch XL, but it was literally just a TV that you just put the cartridge.
It's so sad. I would buy it.
And then it's a Nintendo, so they would do something like put handles on it or something like that.
Oh Lord, let's hope Nintendo doesn't see this. They're gonna be like, "That's a great idea."
They're having like a kid carrying it to their sister's room or something like that.
Oh God, the visual image in my head, I cannot. Jesus. Yeah. The only reason why I say 2022 is because the Switch is a hybrid. So I feel like what they might do, I do think they're going to release the Switch 2 because it is also still a home console, but I think that they're not going to stop support for the Switch 1. Like, I really feel like Metroid Prime 4, yes, it is a video game. It's a real game. Guys, Google it, okay? It's a game. Some people are non-believers, and
I didn't even say nothing.
there is a place for the non-believers. But the fuck out. That's what the place is. But yeah, I feel like Metroid Prime 4 might actually be a cross-gen game. It would be a little weird for Nintendo to do a cross-gen Metroid game because that's never been a thing. The only cross-gen games they usually do is like Legend of Zelda. But I think they might actually do it just because Metroid Prime 4 is their most hyped up game right now. Like, they know people are like starving for Metroid Prime 4. Like, it's managed to gain a fan base of people who previously hadn't even known about Metroid Prime, but because those of us who have been waiting for 4 have harped on Nintendo about it so much, other people are now like, oh, maybe we should get into this. Like, this must be a really good game. It's personally my favorite series, and again, I struggle with saying that because I love Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda, it's the reason that I started considering Nintendo my favorite company when I first played Wind Waker. But which is not a Zelda game that everybody loves, but Wind Waker is so good. It's very underrated. It's a great Zelda game. It's not the best one though. Breath of the Wild is definitely the best, and runner up would be like Twilight Princess. But or I guess most people say Ocarina of Time, but I'm overrated to me. But
you can't say that.
I do love Majora's. Oh, I know, right? I feel the nails going in my hand now of the Nintendo fans wanting to crucify me. Like, how dare you say Ocarina of Time is overrated? It is. I'm sorry. It's good, but I've played better. But yeah, and then with the Legend of Zelda Anniversary coming up next year, we know that a big Zelda game is going to come out next year anyway, and I think the Metroid Anniversary is next year as well, and the Mario Anniversary is this year, which is bringing me to what I'm about to reel into Nintendo's ass about, because everybody is expecting this big compilation package to come out, and there's been supposedly leaks that there's going to be like this compilation of Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario Galaxy 2, and what's the name of it? Super Mario Brothers Wii U.
I forgot what that one was called. Super Mario. There was, God, 3D. No, not 3D World.
Oh yeah. 3D World 2. Thank you. 3D. I've completely forgot about 3D World, which is a shame because it's a great game. Super Mario 3D World. That's the one I'm thinking of. Yes, not Super Mario Brothers U, because they already released that, I think, on the Switch. Maybe they did. I don't know. I didn't pay any attention to it. But yeah, Super Mario. What'd you say the name of it was again?
Is it? I don't remember if it was 3D World or 3D Land, because one of them was a 3DS game and one of them was the Wii U. I can't remember if it was 3D World or 3D Land. That's why.
Oh my god, this is so bad, and I'm such a Nintendo fan. I'm so sorry. It's just because the Wii U was not the strongest system, but I did own one. I did. And I even bought a couple of games on it. I like the Wii U. But yeah, so Nintendo did a Nintendo Direct, which everyone has been hyping up the Nintendo Direct. The whole month they've been like, "Oh, we think a Nintendo Direct is going to happen. Nintendo Direct is going to happen." And they were right, a Nintendo Direct did happen. But much like the last one, it was a complete disappointment because it was geared towards indie games, and it was geared towards. I think they showed a couple of big games. They showed Kingdom Hearts is finally coming to the Switch, which is good for whoever.
Oh my gosh, I'm literally gonna buy that. Look, Jeff's really into Kingdom Hearts, and I just haven't had the time. But like the fun thing is, if something's portable, I'm a lot more likely to play it than if I have to like turn on the TV and sit in front of sit in the same place for a bunch of time. Like if something's portable and I'm like, because I'm just all the way, all around the house. So I just want something I can take with me. And like if it's on the Switch, I'm more likely to play it, honestly.
I thought about getting it. I like the graphics. The graphics look really good. Sometimes I forget how powerful the Switch is. But I really love the graphics. I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it. I loved Kingdom Hearts 2 a lot. It was just a game I was just addicted to. But I've already heard not bad reviews, unsatisfactory reviews on the third one. And some people are like, "Oh, it wasn't what I expected, and it could have been better." And I'm just like, "At least you got the game. Be happy you got it." I wasn't enough of a fan to be like, "Oh my god, I'm just waiting for Kingdom Hearts." But
Jeff really liked it.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Well, being that he's a fan, I can trust his opinion. And then they also showed Shimigami Tensei shit, whatever. Whoever's sorry. They hype this up like they want this to be the next big thing, and it's just not going to be. It's just not. But it does have its own fan base, and it seems interesting enough. If you like cell shaded anime RPG, I don't know. I think that's what it is. I don't know. Play it if you want. I'm not interested in it. I think most of us Nintendo fans found ourselves a little bit disappointed because what we really wanted to see was, Legend of Zelda footage. Or I'm excited about Breath of the Wild 2, but I'm still trying to beat the first one, so I'm not even worried about Breath of the Wild 2, to be honest with you. I really wanted to see either Metroid Prime 4, which I know is
all right, let's try to keep this grounded in games that actually exist and are coming out.
But I really wanted to see some Mario footage, to be honest with you, because I'm interested to see Super Mario 64 on the Switch. I think it would be so good on the Switch. That game would be just excellent on the Switch. The only Mario game I like more than that is Super Mario Galaxy. So I really, really would love to see both of those games on the Switch. I think they would do wonderful. And, it didn't happen. But the year is not over yet. Nintendo always does their big releases in November. And chances are they're probably going to release the Mario thing to combat Sony and Microsoft's new system releases. So
yeah, I think they're waiting on, if you want me to be honest about it, I think Nintendo's just waiting for them to announce the price. Because at this point, Microsoft and Sony have literally announced their full game lineup, then showed us the outside of the system, the inside of the system. They showed us the power cord. They showed us the outlet to plug it into. I'm like, I'm tired of seeing stuff about these systems. Just tell me how much it costs. Like that's like there's nothing else you could tell me about this system that's important. Like, is the inside of it fireproof? I literally don't care. Like, just say how much they cost. And it's like they're both
120 frames.
They're both playing this game where it's like they know that the system is going to be expensive because the stuff they're putting in there is really expensive. Technology is like, it's really like cutting edge PC technology that's not even widely adopted yet. So it's going to be expensive. Like, if it's going to be $600, just say that, and so that way people can get ready and save up their money to buy it if they need to do that.
But what makes me laugh about that, and I'm gonna hop off of this topic because we've been on this topic for a minute. Because when I talk about Nintendo, I can rant. I love them, and at the same time, heartache. But what really gets me about the Sony and Microsoft thing is this: it's cool to have games that play at 120 frames per second. Do both systems have that, or is it just the Xbox? I think it should be both because they're basically equally powered. But it's cool and all, but it's just like. What developer is actually going to make a game that's going to be able to even handle this? Like, I can see something like Gears of War looking really good on it, but and anybody who does, or maybe what's the name of that game? Last Rain? No, not Last Rain.
You talking about Heavy Rain?
Heavy Rain, yeah. I can see something like that running really well on it because Heavy Rain in general just looks like a super interesting game that I've only played a little bit of it. But it looks like a super interesting game. So I can see something like that really benefiting from it. But even then, it would take years to make. So I don't really see the point in hyping up the hardware too much. Because it's just like, okay, it's nice that this can do all this.
It's stuff that I've been doing on PC. But, I mean, not I've been doing. I mean, yeah, I've been doing it on PC. But, like, it's stuff that PC enthusiasts strive for that... It's like one of the reasons that they, pick PC over consoles. Like, I have a monitor that does, my other monitor, the non-video editing one I have, 144 hertz or 144 frames per second, so it can display 144 frames. Which is another thing that's funny. Is like if people buy this and they're like, I'm gonna get 120 frames, but most TVs only are 60 hertz, so they can only do 60 frames per second. So you'd have to have either a specific TV or be hooking it up to a monitor. Like you'd have to know so much about. It's not like a lot to know, but it's more than the average consumer is really gonna know. They're just gonna
Right.
they're just gonna be like, oh, I'm hooking this up. Oh, I'm getting 120 frames. When in reality, your TV can only display 60, so you're getting 60. Like if your monitor
Mm-hmm.
can only show 60, no matter what the counter says, like it might run smoother, like it might not hitch up as much, but you're not actually gonna see the difference unless you have a display that's capable of that. And most TVs, except for right now, like the really high end, like $3,000 to $10,000 TVs, some of them
Mm-hmm.
have like high refresh rate built in, but most TVs that people actually buy don't. And most people who buy consoles hook them up to TVs, so that's not even a real benefit to most people, at least right now.
Right, and see, like, so you saying that, that is my big problem with this, because I'm just like, you guys are like hyping up these like overpowered consoles, but are what is it going to take to really draw out the full power of these? Like, I feel like most people who buy these consoles are not going to even get a chance to experience the full power of them because they're not going to have the TVs. I mean, never mind the fact that our economy is just in complete distress right now. So it's going to take people months or even probably even a full year to even go and buy the consoles. And when they do, when they find out, oh, I also have to buy a mad expensive TV, people are going to be like, all right, come on now. Like, we're still trying to put food on the table right now because Rona ate it all off, you know? So it's just like, I don't know. But I'm not going to go into that too much because that's just a topic that just annoys me. That's why I like, despite the fact that some people try to roast Nintendo for not making their consoles as powerful, that's why I like what Nintendo does because I feel like it makes more sense. Nintendo moves with the market. Like, they're like, why would we make this overpowered console? Especially whenever their stuff it's almost not even being meant to be played on TV anymore. Even though some games, like I've heard Breath of the Wild looks really good on a 1080p TV. Um, I feel like it just makes more sense for at least for me to have something that's not too overpowered and to have something to where you know that these are like the basic kind of TVs that most households have. You know, mostly everybody has a 1080p TV right now. If you got a little bit of extra cash, maybe you have a 4K TV, which is cool. I'm also in support of 4K. But again, just know your market and know what the fuck is going on, you know, because if not, ugh, you're fucked.
Yeah, just like the last consoles did HDR, which I love because I mean, I only
Mm-hmm.
have one TV that in the house that's 1080p, and that's like the one in our bedroom because we don't really use it that much. Like both of our
Mm-hmm.
TVs are 4K. Actually, I forgot my new monitor has a HDR, which it's cool, but it's like even from that standpoint, like the old consoles did HDR and they could technically do 4K, like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox Series X. But even then, it was like you're still talking about a slim margin because people just haven't adopted like even 4K. As long as it's been around now, people still haven't adopted like buying 4K TVs like that. Like they're starting
Mm-hmm.
to sell more now because they've gotten really cheap. I mean, the quality of them aren't great. Like if you're buying a $200 4K TV, it's not gonna be great, but they're just now starting to get out there in the market, and that's because people don't usually buy TVs unless their TV breaks. Like they buy a TV, and they basically use it until it breaks.
Yeah.
That's pretty much
Or if
it.
it's Black Friday.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's one of those things where I think a lot of people aren't gonna see. Aside from ray tracing, because ray tracing is pretty cool because it's like dynamic lighting that's like dynamic realistic lighting that's in the game based off of like where the actual light sources are. That
Mm-hmm.
part's cool, but that's also gonna be dependent on if the developer adds support for that or not.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the only real benefit that everybody will be able to see. But a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
features, it's like I don't see a compelling reason, especially off the bat, to go out and buy a PS5 or the Xbox Series X or whatever, the Series S, because they're supposed to be coming out the cheaper one too. It's a mess. The whole thing is a mess.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, those are my final thoughts on that. You know, whatever console you choose to buy, just go with your heart. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Um. Anyway, moving on past that. So I think on our last podcast, at least on the previous episode, we briefly touched on like cancellation culture because I know I am just over it. I am beyond over it. All the eye rolls in the world over it. And it really sucked to see Ellen DeGeneres get canceled. And before anybody comes at my throat for saying that, I do know that apparently her security guard or whatever the fuck he was said that she treats people horribly. And it's just like, but this is supposedly this has been going on for a long time. One, you're just now saying something about it, and two, you know what is really the motive here of getting all these stars like canceled? You know what I mean? Like some of them I can understand because I'm anyway, but I just don't understand what is the real motive going on here, with canceling people. Like, it's just, I don't know, it just gets stupid to me. I feel like Ellen shouldn't be canceled. Ellen, I'm rooting for you. Like, I don't know what your dyke ass is going to do next. I do not mean that in an offensive way. But whatever you do, I love you. I support you. Keep going. Yes, you're human. You may be a little bit of a bitch. Guess what? I'm a bitch. So it's okay to be a bitch. But, do your shit, man. I don't know. Just
Oh my
treat people
gosh.
good.
Dijon, you cannot say this. You're gonna literally get us canceled. Yeah, some of them, you know, there are some legitimate like times where like yeah, like people they shouldn't have, they should lose their show. But the Ellen thing just seemed really weird. I was like, okay, she's not the nicest person, but I don't. It's I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in a different time. Now I'm just starting to sound old, but I'm just like it doesn't seem like yeah, she's not a nice. Apparently, she's not a nice person behind the scenes. She's only nice to people that she's close to. Things like that. I don't. That's kind of where it came out to me, and I was like, that's almost. I guess it irks me as someone who's just naturally an introvert, and I feel like I could be in a situation where I could probably come off as being that way. And it's not even because I'm trying to be mean. It's just because I just don't generally talk to people like that I don't really know.
Yeah.
So, even though I do videos and I do podcasts, like if you meet me in person, I probably wouldn't say that much to you. Realistically, I'd probably be caught off guard that someone's actually talking to me. So, like, I don't know what kind of person that she is in real life because you just see her on TV and everybody assumes because you're on TV that you're supposed to be like a welcome and bubbly personality like all the time, which I don't think is true. And I'm not
absolutely not.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that to defend her because, like I said, I don't know the whole situation, and just some of it just sounded kind of like it was like, well, she wasn't that welcoming, and I'm like, okay, calm down. I know you were staying at the Hilton. My bad.
I guess like I understand it from the opposite side of it because like I am extroverted. I guess I technically be considered an ambivert because I have my moments where I'm like, ooh, I don't want to talk to people for like a week. But I can still put on the extroverted face very easily. Like it's so easy for me that it's ridiculous. And when it comes to work though, I'm still sort of extroverted. But again, I self-describe myself as this. Maybe it'll come back on me in the future. I don't give a shit if it does. I'm a bitch. Like, when it comes to work, my mind is just like, get the shit done, get the shit done, get the shit done. That's just how I am, especially when I'm on film sets. I constantly look aggravated. It's so sad. And it's like, I love my job, but at the same time, it's just like, that's just my attitude. That's my work attitude. So, I don't know. People don't like it. Some people like it. Who gives a shit? The big song that has been going on in America the past few weeks has been WAP by Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion. And I have been such a big fan of it, but not just because the song is catchy and good, but I've actually been a big fan of it because I feel like I love the fact that there's these female artists who are being very expressive about their sexuality. Of course, this happened with a lot of us who grew up in the 90s. If you knew my neck, my back, and my crack, So it's always nice to see a female artist being expressive about their sexuality. That is honestly the main reason why I have liked it so much is because I'm like, I was confused actually when people started getting offended because my naive mind was like, who wouldn't like this song? And then the Republicans start saying they didn't like it. And then I was just like, what is offensive about this? Like, come on. It's not even a song to get offended about. It's a nice, entertaining song where a female is expressing their sexuality. And they're like, well, women are just shouldn't be sexualizing themselves. I'm like, wait a minute. You're saying that about a rap star when ooh, I almost said something else. When guys in rap music literally sexualize females all the time in the most disrespectful way possible. Like, come on now. Like, are you just mad because they're taking the power back from you? Like, it's just ridiculous. But I think it's a great song. I think people should listen to it. And yeah,
I haven't heard it yet, but I'm gonna listen to it because look, I don't keep up with music. There's one person
yeah, you don't.
that I listen to, and that's it. And then everything.
Oh yeah, Connor Oberst.
How did you know? No, I have there's a lot of diverse bands and songs I listen to. Like, I also listen to Bright Eyes, Desperacitas, Connor Oberst and the Mystic Valley Band, Better Oblivion Community Center, Monsters of Folk. Like, there's all kinds of different bands I listen to.
All of those bands are bands that Connor Oberst is in. It's essentially speaking the same artist. Oh, I forgot. He also does love Bobby Brown too. He is the biggest Bobby Brown fan. It's so crazy. His favorite song is Thug Lovin'. So if you guys want to like just send him Thug Lovin' in just like mass quantities, please do it.
Good.
He loves that song.
No, I'm good.
He loves it. No, he loves it.
I'm good.
He loves it. He does. He absolutely loves it. He talks about it every day. He always says that he wishes his voice was as good as Bobby Brown's voice on that song. Yeah. So that's basically all I gotta say about WAP. For any of you guys who have heard the song, which I'm probably sure you have, let me know your thoughts and opinions on it. I personally love it. I think it's such a great song. Take back your power, females. And I think the video is even more beautiful. I wish I was in that video, but oh well. But yeah. So my next topic is something, because you guys know, as much as I always say I'm not going to get political, it happens, but I will definitely keep it brief. Is the election, but more specifically about the election, since you guys know that I want to make sure I'm saying her name right. Kamala Harris. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. I've heard it said a variety of different ways, but has been elected as Joe Biden's vice president, and there's been a lot of mixed opinions on her, and as far as that goes, there've been a lot of mixed opinions on Biden, and most of them are not positive. But my main thing that I'm going to tell people, and I can't really tell you what direction to vote, go whatever direction your heart leads you to, like we're really in control anyway. But I personally feel like this. I think that a lot of Democrats have had an issue where they focus on individual problems, and so the party becomes very separated. And I remember talking about a couple of months ago, matter of fact, I think I mentioned on the podcast that this was my problem with the Black Lives Matter movement initially, is that I felt like it was starting to become like, it started off as just Black Lives Matter, but then it started to become like Black Women Lives Matter, and then Black Gay Lives Matter, and Black Trans Lives, and then it was like all these groups like wanted attention, and so they're starting to separate. And so I feel like the same thing is happening with the Democratic Party, where like, yes, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have their flaws, but like people are like ripping them apart, and people are like going to vote for like Kanye West. Why would you waste your vote on Kanye West? Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm trying to get the $1 million per kid, so I don't know what you're talking about. Vote for Kanye. That's all I'm saying. $1 million per kid. I'll have some kids for $1 million. What do I have to do to have kids?
You have to have sex with a woman.
I'm good. Never mind.
And it's just crazy to me, because it's just like, and I'm saying this as somebody who is a huge fan of Kanye West's discography. I mean, I love Kanye West. He is literally one of my favorite artists. I don't care if he went off his rockers. I still love him. But I just feel like it's just a distraction to waste your vote on him for a president. Like, if you're gonna vote Biden or Trump, whatever direction your heart leads you. No judgment here. Planet Fitness, judgment-free zone. But don't focus on the small issues, because ultimately, when it comes to presidential elections, that's only one part. That's a small part of the bigger picture. I always try to like motivate people, and for a while, like I said, I just stopped talking about politics a few years ago because I was getting aggravated trying to educate people on it. But what I try to tell people is to know who your Congress people are, know who your people in Congress are, get to know them, because truthfully, they're going to be the main influential factor. In case people don't know, there are three branches of government. So it's not all, the president. Because if it was all the president, just to be real with you, then you'd have two options. You have the dictator path and you have the anarchy path. And I'm not going to say who's who. Use common sense and you'll figure it out. But it's based on more than just the presidents. You got to know your Congress people. You got to know who supports these people, and then vote based off of that. Don't just vote because you see a black woman, or vote just because you're racist as hell and you're like, well, Trump seems like he's racist enough, so let me vote for him. I don't even think Trump is racist anyway. He just likes people who have money, and if you don't have money, he doesn't like you, but he'll use you for a vote. But yeah, so just to keep that in mind, that's basically all I have to say about that, because I feel myself getting heated and I don't want to do that on here. But if you have any thoughts, you can go on that.
As a person, the one thing I'll say about this, just to touch on it briefly, the one thing that gets on my nerves is, as a person who's grown up in the South, and I'll say, like, I didn't grow up in like the dirty, I went down there and throwing bows and all that stuff. But Virginia Beach isn't that bad. But I'm pretty close to North Carolina, and there's just people that I know that just vote the way that their family votes, and that's always gotten on my nerves. It's like, just make your own decisions. When you're voting, when you're making that choice, you're there by yourself. Like, maybe you go wait in line with people, but when you're making that choice, you're by yourself. Vote for whatever is important to you, not be like, oh, well, if I vote for this person, my family is gonna be mad at me, or I just vote this way because my family's always voted this way. It's stupid. There's enough information out here for you to make an informed decision, easily accessible information, to make an informed decision based off of what you think is important. So that's the one thing that I'll say about it.
Yeah, I mean, that says it all. Yeah, be informed, be educated, make smart decisions. The most important part is that you do vote. Again, I don't want to speak against a particular candidate, but please, before you vote for Kanye, just think it through and just be like, would this man really get elected whenever states he's already missed the deadline. So it's just like, come on, guys, like, don't even bother doing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just stupid. Maybe anyway, that's gonna sound so shady. Anyway, I love you, Kanye. Keep making music. You are seriously one of my favorite artists, honestly, and I feel like in your own way you're doing God's work. So now here comes my absolute favorite topic of the day, and mainly just because it's a topic that I have been paying a lot of attention to, watching Mike cover it, which is the Epic versus Apple versus Android thing, which has been so crazy, so wild. I'm going to let you start this off because this is such an interesting news story for me in general. I just love it. But yeah, you can start this off.
All right. So yeah, it's been really it's really dumb. So I'm going to give a brief overview of what's been going on, so in case you guys haven't been following the tech news, because I understand this is like a niche news thing. So there's a very popular video game that's pretty much everywhere. It's on mobile, it's on PC, so on all the consoles. It is called Fortnite, and it's a free-to-play 100-player battle royale game. Last person wins or whatever. So that game on mobile was on the iPhone and on most Android phones. And to get on iPhone, you pretty much have to be in the App Store. Like, there's no other way to add apps to the iPhone. And then on the Android side, on Android, it's a lot more, it's a lot looser. There's different stores, like Samsung has their own store. Like Amazon, for instance, their version of Android is completely closed off. They just have their own Amazon store, and that's it. You can't even get the Google Play Store on their tablets. Or you can, but you got to do some bootleg stuff. I've done it before. But anyway, so Android's a little bit more loose, and then on top of that, you can also just sideload apps, like download apps directly. But in reality, most people are just going to go to the Google Play Store to download apps. So Fortnite originally for the longest time they were against like being on Apple's App Store and Google Play Store because basically game developers they have to use Apple's payment method. They have to use Apple Pay if there's any transactions in the game. The same thing on Google. They have to use Google Pay. And as a result, they both take 30% of the cut for each transaction. So both Apple and Google take 30%. And a lot of companies just like don't want to lose that much money. So they just either in a lot of cases they just don't put transactions in the game like where you can pay for stuff. They'll throw shady hints and be like, just go to our website and pay. Go to our website and pay. But
it's just so shady.
in this case, Epic. And the funny thing is, Epic literally just got on the Google Play Store 4 months ago. There was like literally 18 months where they weren't even on the Google Play Store because they refused, and they finally like caved in and got on the Google Play Store. So recently, which is against both Apple and Google's terms of service, they basically put in there their own direct payment method where you can pay them directly to buy stuff in Fortnite. They sell stuff like at Fortnite, because it's a battle royale game, they sell like season passes where you get content like costumes and stuff like that, and then you get things if you get prizes for leveling up based on whatever you get. It's like a battle pass thing. You get prizes for leveling up. Basically, you get unlock costumes and stuff like that. So they literally would have the prices up there, and it was like if you paid through Epic, it was $8, and it's like, or you can use Apple Pay, and it's $10. So like they literally were trying to get people to like pay through them directly and charge less money. And they rolled this out in an update, like without Google or Apple knowing it. They just like put it in there, and then of course as a result, Apple removed the app from the App Store. So right now, if you don't already have Fortnite installed in the iPhone, you can't get it. And then also a few hours later, Google pulled it. And so basically the gist of the story is Epic did this on purpose because as soon as Apple pulled it, they announced that they were suing Apple. And then they literally put out this very childish like ad campaign that was a spoof of like a 80s Apple commercial where they use Fortnite characters. It just looks so... I think the most annoying thing was like Fortnite characters already look dumb anyway, and they did it all with Fortnite characters, and then they had like an apple on the screen. It's like that. I don't know if you guys have seen that commercial, the 1984 Apple commercial where like the big brother who's supposed to be IBM at the time because they were like the big computer giant at the time when Apple was still small. And then the person throwing like the thing hammer to the screen. So they basically spoofed that commercial, except it was like an apple, like a big apple talking with like a worm sticking out of his head. It was really childish. And like they're doing this whole like Fortnite free Fortnite Cup thing where they're gonna have prizes too. Like it's a tournament that's going on right now. And they're just being really childish about it. They're basically trying to turn the people like, hey, they took your Fortnite away. I'm like, you literally broke the rules and got the app removed, and then turn around and sue an Apple. And then as soon as Google pulled the app, they also went and sued Google too. But they haven't been after Google as much as Apple. Like Apple seems to be their main focus. And I think it's because with Apple, with the iPhone, there's no other way to get apps on the phone. Like you have to get it from the App Store. With Android, you can still, they can still direct people to their website. But their whole argument for the Android lawsuit was like, well, there's alternatives, but everything, most people download apps from the Google Play Store. So if you're not in the Play Store, then you're just not going to be successful on Android.
Petty.
Yeah. And,
so petty.
A lot of developers have complained about the 30%. So it's not like they're the first ones. And it's not like the argument's completely wrong either. It's just I can't be empathetic towards them because they're so petty. Like to go through all this, like obviously they're doing it to prove a point, but like to be like, oh look, Apple's wronging you, and like clearly like you did something wrong, you're being really childish about it, and being like, oh look what Apple's doing to you, they removed your game.
So here's my thing. Not only did they completely breach a contract by doing what they did with Apple, which already makes me lose respect for them because bad business practices. Who wants to deal with anybody like that? I get the whole 30% thing, but my question to you is this: Is I know the answer to this from what I know of Epic over the years, but would you consider Epic to be a major enough company to where that 30% is not, they're not really taking that big of a hit from it?
Oh no, they can afford to pay the 30%.
Exactly. Now I understand it if when it comes to more indie developers because we're living in a time where indie literally, independent, whether it's writing, developing, whatever, is starting to become a huge thing, and indie games are really it's a huge thing right now. So with the indie developers, I can get it because for an indie company, they would take a big hit on that, and if Epic is just trying to be like the sacrificial lamb for them because they're like we're the only people who are willing to take on Apple. Cool. All right, whatever. If that's your intention is to really take up for these other smaller developers who really are taking a hit by this 30%. But I don't see it that way from the way just listening to you and from my little research I've done on the story, it seems petty. It all seems so petty. And it's just like you're really coming at these companies, but it all is going to come down to one thing. You breached a contract.
Yeah.
When you fuck up, you pay for it. Like there's no way around that. And like you willfully did it. Like you knew you were deceiving these people and you did it. Like come on, man. That's bad business practice. Like ugh.
Yeah, then Apple tried to get petty too because they tried to. So they pulled the game, and then they're also going to terminate all their development tools on both Mac and on iPhone, which, to me is also petty because the thing is, like, a lot of games use Unreal Engine. Like, Unreal Engine is one of the most popular,
yeah,
things, and there's other stuff that Epic develops too. So, like, pulling that would have hurt, like, a lot of developers, and it really had nothing to do with the development tools. It was really Epic Games specifically because technically Epic Games is a separate company from Epic International, which licenses the tools. It was Epic Games that really caused the mess. So Epic filed an injunction to block them from removing the developer tools, and then also to get them to put Fortnite back on the store because they're like, oh, you can't retaliate because we're filing the lawsuit. But the funny thing was, so the judge did agree, like, yeah, they're not, like, Apple can't remove the developer tools because technically Epic Games was the one that violated the contract, not Epic International, and technically two separate companies. So they're like, based on that.
Good
like,
move on the judge's part.
Yeah, they're like, even though Apple said in the hearing that they didn't view them as two separate companies, that Epic International is pretty much a shell company, it's not like a real company, but they were like, well, regardless, it's really nothing to do with what happened with the game, so there's no reason to remove their developer tools, which I agree with because that would hurt a lot of other games. Like a lot of games use Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
But the other thing that they they flat out said was like, no, we're not going to agree to make them put Fortnite back on the store. Like they're like, you breached the contract purposely and got it and had it removed. So no. So I guess, and the funny thing is though, there was an article about it on Engadget, and they're like, they literally said the judge didn't seem empathetic towards Epic at all.
That's good though. I would prefer it that way because it's just bad business practice. You know what I mean? And I guess my mind always goes there, and I'm also glad what you said. I think my mind skipped over it about the developer tools, because Apple was in the wrong in doing that, and we know just from buying Apple's products that they can be petty. I mean, their prices are petty, but I feel like the judge ruled basically in everybody's favor, and at the same time in everybody's favor and nobody's favor. He wasn't biased is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, they did what made sense. So
right.
The other thing is, like, I don't know, I was listening to I was watching Linus Tech Tips. They have like a long form.
Mm-hmm.
They have like a live stream
Mm-hmm.
podcast type thing every week. But I think the one thing that made me open my eyes up about like it is kind of an issue with the 30% thing was because they're trying to get their app back on the App Store because Apple removed it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they didn't want to use Apple's payment method technically Linus Tech Tips, he has another business. It's called Floatplane, where it's kind of like it's really a site for like YouTubers that have their fan base, where it's like a subscription based site where like, okay, you're a fan of this YouTuber, you can subscribe and you get exclusive content from them through this site, outside of YouTube or whatever. You get exclusive videos, you get early access to videos, stuff like that. So that's the other business that they have. But because they want the creators to get paid, they're like 30% is like literally what they make. So like if they paid Apple 30%, they wouldn't be making any profit. And then they were just talking about the struggles of trying to get their app back on the App Store. They're like, so they didn't want to use Apple's payment method, so they were like they removed any mention of payments or whatever. And even then, Apple was still like, no, because you're directing people towards your website. So you can't direct people towards your website at all. And then also the other thing that's crazy is you can't even charge more money to make up for the 30%. So it's not like you can charge. That's like in their rules. So you can't charge 30% more like on the mobile app versus like if you go to the website either.
Mm-hmm.
So you literally have to charge the same amount. So it's like, if like let's say if you sold a book on your website and you charge $10 for it and you use like a different payment method that charge 1%, and then you sold it through your App Store app, you would have to charge the same amount for that book, and then you would be losing 30%. So you couldn't even charge more for it to make up for losing 30% from something through the app. So that's the other thing that's literally violating their rules. And then, but they were like, yeah, even when they removed the payment method and they removed any mention of even going to their site to sign up, they're like, if you try to sign into the app and you don't have a subscription, it just says, sorry, you can't sign in or something like that. And even that, they were like, no. They still rejected it. So
oh man.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, for like I don't think it's a problem for Epic, but yeah, it seemed like, a smaller company like that. It's not like like Linus Tech Tips isn't like tiny. They have like I think they have around like 50 employees or something like that. So they're still like a smaller company. So like, yeah, something like that where they kind of get stuck in that whole like Apple's basically forcing them to like use their payment method and you lose 30% or just not have an app on iPhone. That kind of sucks. Mm-hmm. And then Apple's only defense was like, oh well, they can use Safari to go to their website. That was pretty much the whole thing. So yeah, there's like I said, it's not like a clear cut like right and wrong. I just feel like Epic's has been way more petty. But like I said in my last video, if Epic doing this, if something good happens for other people as a result of doing this, that's good. But I'm still not going to be like supportive of Epic in this situation.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But yeah, and that's what I was saying too. If other companies benefit from this, other smaller independent companies, I'm all I'm all thumbs up. Like good. I'm glad that some positivity came out of this, but like you, I cannot necessarily pick a side, even though it does sound like I'm leaning more towards Apple and Google on this one.
It's hard not to, like, even though like, yeah, I know it's an issue just because the way Epic is acting is actively pushing me away from like taking their side.
Right. Yeah, just like it's just the pettiness, and I'm like I'm all about good business practices. Like, yeah, I mean, we do our podcast, which is technically considered professional. We're ghetto as fuck, but that's part of the fan base. You know what I mean? We're just us. But when you're dealing with actual business practices, there's just certain things that you do and don't do. And breach of contract is just that is a no. That is just flat out disrespectful. Like, and it's one thing if it happens by accident. It shouldn't happen at all. But if it happens by accident, it's one thing. But no, they purposefully did this. So that's just wild. But anyway, that pretty much wraps that up, which brings us to the most exciting section, which is the free promotion. Woo!
I feel like I need one of those noisemaker things.
Yeah, I was going to tell you that because I keep hearing like bells and whistles and ding, 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 ding. So as always, I'm going to do you the honor of going first.
Because I ain't got nothing to talk about. All right.
Oh my God.
Well, you can find me on youtube.com/ Mike Text It Out, where I'm going to have all kinds of tech videos. All the stuff that I talked about today is pretty much featured on the channel, except Dijon's MacBook, which, we're going to make a video on soon because I'm out of ideas. Um, and yeah, my new monitor video dropped this week. There's an unboxing, and I kind of did a first impressions. It's pretty much a review. I just don't. I call it a first impressions because when you first get something, you're like in a honeymoon phase with it. I like to wait a few weeks before I do a review, so it's called a first impressions. But that's up there. My deeper thoughts on the Atomos Ninja 2, if you want to hear that, and then of course I do the news videos every week. So if you don't want to fall behind on this whole Epic versus Apple thing, definitely head over to Mike Text It Out and check it out. YouTube.com/Mike Text It Out. And of course, I'm on Twitter at Mike Text It Out, and I have a Facebook too, I guess. All right, and over to Dijon for your stuff.
um, Actually, I want to do my first because I want to do two shout outs today. If you like coffee or coffee related products, I have a friend has his own business, great business, great coffee, great products. It's called mycoffeedestination.com. Go there for all your coffee related stuff. You will love it, live in it. It is wonderful. Like, come on, who doesn't drink coffee? Like, I drink coffee, and I'm bougie, so I'm picky about everything that I do. Nah, I'm more like bougetto. I'm like bougie and ghetto at the same time. But anyway, so that's for your coffee stuff. And if you are a person that likes to watch reviews of films, check out this guy's channel. His name is Matt McDonald. The name of his channel is Movie in the Middle. It is a wonderful channel. I love his reviews. So check his stuff out. It's on YouTube. And me, all about me. So you guys already know you can check me out at freedomarts.com. That's freedomartz.com, where you will see my big range of talents and all my other stuff I have on there. I'm not going to even, it's too much. I know my own stuff with it. But, the newest thing that we are promoting right now is my baby right here. It's Queen of America. It is such a wonderful story. Honestly, this is my favorite story that I have written so far. It is so wonderful. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and read the back to you. Don't worry, it ain't that long, so, But it's after the death of the president of the U.S. during a global quarantine, a black princess is asked to become the new leader of America. However, the man who put her in charge of the position have a much darker agenda that they intend to use her to be the face of. This is a story filled with drama, conspiracy, and the beginning stages of a dystopian society. So, anybody who knows me well knows that I obviously like politically related stuff. As much as I try to avoid it, it keeps pulling on me. And so I like a lot of things that deal with dystopian and utopian stuff. And that's what a lot of this book touches on. But anyway, you can also find me on Twitter. We're going to put the link on screen because I can never remember. I think it's at Dijon Mark Mac or whatever. And then you can, you can look me up on Facebook. And then we got Instagram at Dijon MC, Dijon Mac, because I'm the Mac Daddy. That joke still isn't working. It doesn't even feel comfortable saying it. And then you could follow us on Twitter at DMMRP. Guess what the P stands for? WA Podcast. Yeah. So, that's all the things. Thank you so much for watching us. We really appreciate it. I hope that God blesses each and every single last one of you. I'm praying for you. I'm hoping that you guys are staying safe during Corona. If you're going to have any kind of parties or have any kind of people over, please just be safe. Use hand sanitizer. Wear your mask. Use common sense, please. Because death is happening everywhere. And, you just want to make sure you're protected. Like, who doesn't want to live? Well, there's some people who don't want to live. But, yeah, be smart. Stay alive. I love you. I love you so much. Much more than you could ever imagine.
And you know what the best way to stay alive is? It's by telling your friends and coworkers about this podcast. And if you have a question or suggestion or any feedback for us, sending it to dmmrpodcast@gmail.com. We will read your questions on the air and answer it to the best of our abilities. And if you have any suggestions about topics you want us to cover, dmmrpodcast@gmail.com, or you could even tweet us. You can Instagram our Twitters.
Instagram our Twitters. Please do it. I mean, we would be appreciated. We want people to be involved. Like, we really want to do a live show, as soon as possible.
Really love having my Twitter, Instagram. So do that.
Yeah, it's having your Twitter, Instagram makes so much sense. I do it every day. But yeah, so like I said, we really love talking to people. We really want to have a live show just so we can have a little more interaction with people. I think it'll be so much fun. Again, we love you guys so much. Have a good night. Have a good day. Yeah, I love you. And I'm gonna let him close this off because I'm getting awkward.
All right, that is it for DMMR. We will see you next month with more exciting topics. So make sure to tell a friend and tell a coworker. I'm not going to do my mic text it out close. But yes, tell people. Really, it's just seriously though, spread the word if you really enjoyed this content. We really want to get out there and get feedback from you guys. So thank you so much for listening, especially if you made it this far. And we will see you in a month. We're out.